Hi, Tiffany.
Hi.
Thank you. I have a hydrating mask on. Don't judge. I know y'all won't,
No.
but that's why I look a little pasty.
I might put this on while we're here. I haven't tried the hydrating mask yet. I just
Yeah,
ordered
it's amazing.
but my skin's so dry. So anyway, thank you guys for coming on. This is the leadership call. I am slightly sad that there aren't more of the girls that earned it here because this is such a valuable time for you guys to get mentorship and training from other top leaders. Now, while I am always pouring into you and always trying to give you as much as I can all the time, I'm still only one person with a certain amount of ideas, and my experiences have me leading a certain way. So having other leaders come in and share their perspectives, their tips and tricks, help you create a bigger puzzle piece to figure out this business. And the more that we can become consummate students, masters in our craft, that we can show up for these kind of things and say, my growth as a network professional matters, that's how you get to the top. It's not by thinking you've got it all figured out or that these kind of calls aren't valuable, because they are. And this month we have a rock star in the house. She's one of my favorites, one of my OGs. We go back a while. Tiffany Ofenstien is purple status. We will be on the cruise together with Holly's got the cruise too. And just so you know, since there's only two, Joyce just got the kit a couple weeks ago and qualified already with $500 in sales. So that's how she got here. She's brand new. And then we've got elite status Holly Breyer. So I'm going to let Tiffany go ahead and take it away as I put this mask on my face.
Good deal. Well, if for some reason no one knows me, I am Tiffany Ofenstien. I have, let's see, oh my gosh, I've been with Unique almost 5 years now, which is crazy to even think. So kind of are the OGs that have been around a while. I am purple status, and so Marie invited me on here to talk about two big things. One is really about just building your team, obviously sponsoring, which is a huge thing. And then also how we're going to take those new team members and kind of get them started out correctly. Leadership is like one of my favorite things to talk about because I really can tell you, like, there's no really secret behind it, in my opinion. It's really about on how you want to run your business and how you decide what works the best for you. Now, when it comes to building your team, there's so many things that we can do, right? And we hear them all the time, is that obviously we're, being consistent on all of our social media. We're doing the affiliate links or parties, whichever way that you're running it. You're messaging people, you're talking to people all the time. But I really think that bringing in new presenters into this business, it really comes down to being super authentic and just being who you are. In the end, it's kind of ridiculous, and I've heard other leaders say this, and it made so much sense when they said it, is that we have to get to a point that people like us. You want to find people that are, yes, interested in what you're doing, or interested in, maybe you have those interests, all those kinds of things, but it really comes down to people actually liking who you are. Yes, we have a business, and yes, we're kind of repping that, but we have to remember to share personal things in our life, share who we are, share your why, why you're in this business, struggles that you go through, your ups, your downs, being super, super transparent with people. And I really think that that's one of the biggest things. A lot of people that I bring into this business really tell me, like, I chose you, or I decided that I wanted to be a part of this business because I appreciate you being exactly who you are. Like, I can tell that the person that you put on social media for your Facebook Lives or your posts or anything, like, that's truly who you are. It's not a front. You talk about your good days, your bad days, things that you go through, all that kind of stuff. So we have to remember to really show people truly who we are and, let people in. It's not about your pages just being all of Unique and products and the kit all the time. It's about hitting people on a different level. I also really, really stick to trying to hit all of those kinds of different reasonings on why people would join, because yes, I joined for a certain reason and somebody else joined for a certain reason and all those kinds of things. But I try to make sure that my opportunity posts or anything that I put up kind of targets different kind of areas. Some people join just because of the friendships. They join because of the cruises, the trips that we go on, stuff like that. They want to be able to travel. So we have to make sure that we're kind of hitting all those points. Something that I've kind of told my team that I feel like really helps when it comes to opportunity is getting a calendar. You can use like your regular planner, but I print out like a separate calendar every single month and basically take every single day and figure out what part of the business I want to hit on each day. Like what kinds of things am I talking about? So, this day is about just the trips. This day is about the sisterhood, and kind of go over all those things so that I'm hitting all of those points that I want to talk about, and I'm kind of spreading it out. And it's not just, those kit purchases all the time, just about, the value of the kit and all those kinds of things. The next thing is be incredibly confident in the opportunity that you're giving to people. I know that it can be very hard to hear no or have people say like, I don't want to be a part of this or anything. And I feel like at some points we let that get to us. We try to figure out why people are saying no, or maybe we're afraid to approach people because of other people saying no. You kind of get to that point, you're like, oh, well, I've heard no a million times. Like, and then we start to kind of second guess, like, is this something that I want to bring up to this next person? Like, what if they say no? We have to be extremely confident. We all know, because we're in this business and we're leaders in this business, you guys are accomplishing your goals. You're being successful in your business. We know what this business and this opportunity can do for your life. And we have to be confident when we're speaking about it. So when we're approaching people, it's, hey, I have this amazing opportunity. You either can say yes or you can say no, and it's okay. And when they say no, just know in the back of your mind, you know what? They passed up an opportunity that could have been a life changer. Maybe they'll change their mind in the future. And if they don't, that's okay. They passed it up. So we're moving on to the next one. So I always try to tell my team all the time, we have to be confident. We have to fully 100% believe in this business, in this opportunity, because I feel like if you start to second guess that will kind of hold you back from really, really wanting to put the opportunity out there. Okay. And then obviously, like literally the number one is just being consistent. We have to be consistent for people to ultimately be excited about this and be excited about being a part of your team versus anybody else. Because if they're not seeing that you're 100% consistent, they might move on to somebody else, right? So obviously we're bringing new people into the business, and how are we going to actually get them started? Now, this is something throughout the years that I feel like was one of my struggles. I could never really figure out something that worked incredibly well for me. What I suggest is creating a system. And this is kind of up to you on what works. Like, I know a lot of people are going into the automated messages with ManyChat, all that kind of stuff. I think that that's amazing, but I've set up a system that works really, really well for me, which is a separate group on Facebook. It doesn't have to be separate. It can actually be something in your own team page. But I created units, and it is basically on the same exact things that I felt like I was repeating all of the time. So every single new presenter, I was like, okay, well, make your Facebook public, like do your welcome post. This needs to be done. Make a VIP group, like all of those very basic things. I created units for all of this stuff. I put it into a group, and it's called my Jumpstart group. And so when I add new presenters, what I basically do is I kind of go through like my steps. So obviously, putting them in the team pages, getting them welcome to the team, like all of that kind of basic stuff. I try not to overload them too much on like that first day, because I want it to be that crazy excitement. The next day after they sign, that's when I will put them into the Jumpstart group. I kind of tell them that this is the main focus in their business up until they get their kit. So this is the basic information that they need to know about getting everything set up within that first week of their business and kind of get the ball rolling up until they get their kit. Now, this is a group that obviously they can read the entire thing in one day if they're that excited and they want to, or they can take their time and do a couple units per day to kind of get through it. I allow them to kind of pace themselves on what they can fit into their day that kind of works for them. And then every few days, I'm just kind of checking up on them, making sure that they understand what they've read, they've taken notes, all those kinds of things. Now, once they get through that Jumpstart group, and I kind of keep track on like where they are. Once they're fully through it, I get on the phone with them. I do highly suggest this. This is something that I didn't do in the past. Majority of the times I would kind of stay in Messenger, or, you know, if it was somebody that I already kind of talked on the phone, maybe we did that, but I make sure every single time after they're done that group, I get on the phone with them. Now, the reason for this phone call is to, number one, answer questions that they may have about anything that they read in the Jumpstart, but I want to get an idea of who they are. I think when it comes to leadership and really training a team below you, number one, I want to know who they are. I want to know their schedule. I kind of want to know why they joined this business, like all of that background information. But then I also want them to know who I am. I want them to understand how I am kind of as a leader, how I run my team. I'm not really a handholder. I kind of try to create my team to be as independent as possible, but still know that I'm here for them and I'm their cheerleader and everything like that. But I do try to create independence. Now, those first like 2 months, I'm very handholdy. You know, like I want to be right there. I want to kind of set them up for success. But then I get to the point that I let them go a little bit so that they can really take off in their business. So I make it super transparent on that call to kind of do that. And my biggest thing is I want to know how to lead them. I feel like that was one of the biggest things that I needed to figure out, because as you're building your team, you are going to be building up completely different women. You know, some people need to be trained a certain way. Other ones, you know, kind of take the reins and run for themselves. Maybe some you can be a little bit harder on and kind of push them a little bit more. But then I also have the women that are really struggling with self-confidence. Maybe they doubt themselves. Like those are the ones that we have to kind of, you know, build up a little bit more and be patient with, you know? So I really feel like the system that I have works for me. I'm not saying that this is like 100% the best thing to do, but I really think that it has really, really worked for me. So my suggestion is pretty much to figure out that basic system that you want to use that really, really works, and then just stick to that. But in the end, really figure out who these women are, what their goals are, what they want from this business, so that you know exactly how to lead them. And once I figured out that I needed to kind of shift that differently for different people, I feel like it created so much stronger people on my team by doing that, you know? And also, it kind of weeds out some people too. And that's really when it comes to like that Jumpstart group and kind of giving somebody a task right off the bat. Now, I know I can't even think of who it is off the top of my head, but I know there's leaders out there that kind of, I think it's like Bree Richardson does, like, you know, she'll give her new presenters like 3 tasks to do in the very beginning. And that kind of judges, you know, the stronger ones to maybe people that don't really want to put in that effort. And I feel like that's kind of what that group did for me. Like if I have people that I put in there and I'm checking in a couple of days later and they're like, oh, well, I haven't got to it and I haven't got to it. Maybe these are people that are not technically going to very work hard, you know, like they're not showing me that they're willing to put in a little bit of time to even kind of figure out the beginning. So that kind of gives me that idea of like, you know, who really is a runner and who might not, you know, kind of jumpstart that business in the very beginning. Not that I write them off, okay? I'm not saying like, you know, write everybody off, but that still gives me a basic idea who needs more of my attention. You know, if my girls are going to come in and they're going to start working at this right away, they get my attention. You know, I put my attention where my runners are and where I deserves it, you know, and I hate to say it that way, but it's a battle of trying to figure out that true balance between your own personal business and your team and everything personal life. You know, like there's so much that goes on in everybody's lives. So I felt like I needed to make sure that my time was spent wisely. So obviously I'm going to put it into those people. So that's pretty much what I have for you.
I think that that's great what you were saying. If I could just add one thing to that, it's important that we don't prejudge either, because sometimes they sign up and we think that they're going to do something and then they don't, or we think they're not going to do something and then secretly they're wanting to do something but they don't know where to begin. So my best advice, the reason why I wanted Tiffany to talk about this subject specifically is because we've signed like 25 girls to the team this month or something like that already. So we are growing, you guys, and I want you to give these new girls the best chance to be successful as possible. One of the things that Black Status Chelsea Boyd told me one time, and it's always stuck with me, treat every new presenter like they're going to be your first Black Status presenter. So you don't know who it's going to be. Look, I mean, I didn't know I was going to be successful at this business. Tiffany, when you first signed up, didn't know that you were going to be a purple status. We just kind of we go in blind, hoping for the best. And so every girl that joins your team is going to do the same thing. You have no idea who the runners are. I've had girls come in and say, I'm going all in, and then it's nothing. And then I've had girls tiptoe in, and then a year later, Rachel Hackett suddenly green status. It took her a little while to build up some momentum. So if you just treat every single new presenter as if they could be your first Black Status presenter, you will lead them in a way that's a little bit more loving and a little bit more supportive to their goals and their dreams. So don't discount anyone. And along the lines about what Tiffany was saying as well, there are 2 books that are really helpful in determining like your team and like leadership, understanding what the different people are about. I'm sorry if I'm stealing your thunder, Tiffany.
You're fine.
The 4 Color Personalities is a good one by Big Al. He talks about how there's 4 different color personalities and each one learns differently, each one grows differently, and so that would help if you could identify that. But also one of my favorite books is The 5 Love Languages. If as a leader you can determine what someone's love language is, then you can start drawing on their heartstrings, and that's where loyalty lies. Loyalty is in love, not in fear or anything else. People stick around because they love you. And that's what Tiffany was saying at the beginning. People join you because they love you. They're going to stay with you because they love you. Some people are prize motivated. Some people are words of affirmation. They want the pat on the back. Some people are quality time. They just want to hang out with you. So those are 2 books that would really help you start to understand your team better so that you could be a stronger leader.
100%. And it literally, I think it really did change my business to really understand different kinds of personalities. Because I kind of got to the point that like in the very beginning of my business, my team grew rapidly. So I was bringing in these people and I was training everybody the exact same way. Because I got to a point that I was like, okay, it's time to be a leader. Like, I got to kind of figure this out. So I wasn't thinking like, okay, this person might need this, or this person might need this, or, I'd post an incentive and only a couple girls were kind of excited about it and the other ones weren't. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe they're, not interested in really working the business. But in the end, it's really not that. It's that they're not motivated by those things. So really, like I said, getting on the phone with somebody and really truly understanding who they are, what they're about, and everything will change the game. Absolutely change the game.
And you think about all of the courting that you had to do to get them to say yes, especially if it's somebody that you worked on for a while. That relationship should only get stronger once they join. It shouldn't get like weaker. They shouldn't, okay, my work here is done. Now I'm going to go on and recruit somebody else or something like that. That you cultivate even stronger bonds after they join and they're in the sisterhood. I feel that way about you guys. I know I have so much more love for you guys than I had before you joined the team. And it's just because we're working together side by side, cheering for each other, picking each other up after losses. We do that, and that helps grow our sense of our relationship, which is what true mentorship is, in my opinion. It's a commitment to loving each other through the ups and the downs.
Absolutely.
Could we open it up to questions? Because I know Holly signed quite a few girls. Amber, can we open it up to see if you guys have any leadership questions?
I don't have a whole lot of questions, but I just I was jotting some things down. Like, I have no system. I have a couple of girls that are working, and I check in with them regularly. And I always do either a phone call if they're not local, or a video chat, or most of my girls are local because they're people that I know and they've done, taken a kit. But I always sit down face to face and have a conversation. Whether it's just to show them the back office, and sometimes it'll start off that way, and then they start asking more questions and get more intrigued. So I really like trying to remember that just because somebody says they just want the discount, that can change. I bought the kit from Marie, and overnight changed my mind, overnight. But sometimes it might take a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month or whatever. But just remembering that can change at any moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and honestly, it's figuring out what makes them tick, right?
Yeah.
It's figuring out what makes them tick. What's holding them back? Most times you don't know the demons that somebody's fighting, the fears that they bring with them, their past failures. We all bring baggage to this business, and it comes in the form of all of our past failures and the way that our family has treated us and told us what we're capable of. So we're battling pretty big demons when we bring people in. And that's why it's so important to be patient, to give people time to heal. A lot of people have never been around our kind of community. They don't know what a sisterhood is, because all the women in their life are nasty catty bitches. So it takes time for them to assimilate to a new culture and to feel safe and secure here. And I know I sound like a hippie when I say it. I keep saying it. It comes back to love. That's it. And that's how I feel. And as long as you love them and you truly care about them, they're going to feel it. So 100% what Holly was saying. And I don't know if you need a complete system, because there's so many resources at your disposal that I don't want you guys to forget about. So I know some leaders, some of my elites are breaking off and creating their own training. That's great. But we still have the Glam Squad training. We still have the units.
Mm-hmm.
Corporate just launched the new presenter training in the back office. So there's that at your disposal. We've got Black Status Jennifer Hagemeyer, all of her trainings. There's so much that you could help your presenters with. I don't want anyone to feel like that they don't know where to start because they just signed someone. Now what? There's lots of stuff at your disposal.
Yeah, and when I mean create a system, it's not so much redoing anything.
No, yeah.
Kind of stuff like that, but at least having that idea of when I sign somebody, these are the steps that I'm going to take to keep myself super organized, and I know what I'm doing, My biggest thing about creating my own was, I got to the point that I was purple status, and I wanted to kind of give myself that role to make sure that I was creating something that was very open for me, plus my entire downline uses it. And I could kind of follow along with my new presenters as they were doing that. So when their questions would come up, kind of stuff like that, I knew what they were talking about. So it's not so much about, recreating. There is tons of stuff out there. And I know that this is something that corporate really wants to get better at. There's a lot of talk when it comes to the exclusives about things that are going to be changing with corporate and them giving us a lot more tools to be able to use, whether it's new presenter training or, getting the pink status, whatever it is. But that's something that they're really going to work on. So when you figure out something that you want to stick to, and that's the route that you want to, put your new presenters in, then just stick to that. Just making yourself organized is the biggest thing,
And I think also keeping it simple is important too. You know, you don't want to overwhelm them. They're going to be overwhelmed just by the sheer notifications of being added to some of these things, groups and chats and whatnot. So keep it simple, you know, ABC, Sesame Street style. Not that we want to ease them into anything, but give them time to test the water and see the temperature before you just toss them into the deep end.
Yep.
1, 2, 3. Watch these videos. Let's meet and let's talk about questions. So simple.
Absolutely.
And circling back with them also. Another thing that I do with all of my girls, whenever we have one-on-ones, I give homework. So I don't just mentor them for the sake of conversation. At the end of every conversation, if any of you have ever had time with me, you know this. I always give homework. I would like you to do this, and do this. And one, because these are the steps that you should be taking to work your business, but two, because I want you to feel empowered when we're done and you know what to do. So when you get your new girls, don't be shy to tell them what to do. They don't know what they don't know. And I think in the beginning, one of my mistakes is that I assumed everyone was like me and that they were going to just figure it out on their own, because that's how I am. I didn't want to bother my sponsor. I didn't want to look needy or dumb. So I probably shot myself in the foot taking the long way around trying to figure out some of these things instead of just going to the person that's supposed to help me. So there might be girls that join you that feel, and I know for a fact some girls have told me this, I don't want to bother you, Marie. I know you're busy. And that's the farthest thing from the case. So as a leader, you have to be the one constantly reaching back down, because you cannot count on your team to raise their hand. They will sit there in suffering and never raise their hand because they don't want to bother you.
Oh yeah, I reiterate that over and over again. Like, no message is going to bother me. Like, that is exactly what I'm here for. But there's so many, and it's crazy because then some of my girls will come to me and be like, okay, I've literally exhausted all efforts. I've been working on this for hours and I can't figure it out. Which is crazy to me because I'm like, within those hours, like, you finally just got to the point of messaging me, you know? So you kind of have to remind people of that. And obviously, like I said, I try to create as independent people as possible, but you know, I was the same as Marie. I jumped into this business and never hardly asked any questions because I was like, I'm not going to bother Adriana. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to figure all this stuff out myself. And I feel like, yes, in the end, it made my business stronger because I did take the time to be resourceful and really figure out those answers, but I probably did go the long way, you know? So I kind of make sure that I am right there kind of walking them through the process and everything, and then teaching them, you know, hey, this is where you go if you have those kinds of questions, or, you know, this is the best route to take, so that in the end, when it gets further down the line, they already kind of have an idea of where to find those answers and, you know, slightly start to be independent. But then me reiterate over and over again, like, I'm here if you need me.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that I love this conversation because I know for most of us, leadership is hard. We weren't leaders in our lives before this. We weren't managers. Most of us worked regular jobs. I mean, I was a manager, but man, I was in the Army, so I have some leadership training, but it's not anywhere near the caliber of leadership training that I've had to learn on the ground by failing and trying again in this business. But I feel like leadership is one of the most intimidating things for girls, and I think that that's why some of you aren't recruiting the way that you should be, is because there is some brokenness in your thoughts around who you are as a leader. And I want to reaffirm that we are together as a team. You are not a leadership of one. We are all leading your new girls together. So there's no fear. There should be no fear about bringing somebody new into the company. They're going to get the same amount of love and care from all of us as you did when you came in. So I want you guys to just remember that it's okay. You're allowed to be a new leader. You're allowed to assign your first person and figure it out as you go. Don't be afraid to offer the opportunity, because this is just the next level. That fear that you're feeling about signing someone is your physiological response to growth. So just remember, every time you feel that fear, it's just because you're growing and you're asking more than you've had before.
Yep. There's so much support everywhere when it comes to, you know, your uplines and all that kind of stuff. Number one, you guys have an amazing, amazing leader on this team. So don't ever be scared of that leadership. And like I said, I feel like there's no secret behind it. It's really just like anything. I mean, you come into this business and it's a learning experience about how to, you know, grow in this business and be successful. Leadership is exactly the same. You know, I wish that I could go back to the very beginning of my business and have, you know, the thoughts that I do now about how I lead my team and all that kind of stuff. I wish I could go back. I've screwed up plenty of times or done things wrong or anything, but, you know, it was all a learning experience the entire time. And you just get better and better at it. And like I said, you kind of find those systems that work and what works for your team and everything, and then you just keep on going. And I can tell you at Purple Status, being in this business for 5 years, I don't claim to be the perfect leader. You know, like I'm trying to learn all the time. I'm trying to find new things that I can do. You know, the best way to kind of run my team or, you know, kind of point them in the right direction. So it's a continued learning experience in my book.
Yeah, always growing, always getting better, for sure. Amber, Joyce, Megan, do you guys have any questions? Any questions about recruiting or what happens when you sign someone?
What does happen? Just out of curiosity, because I've gone through things in the back office and looked at everything, or not everything, but I've looked at a lot of this stuff. But what does happen when you do sign somebody?
Well, the first thing that'll happen is you'll get an email notification that they joined you and selected you as their sponsor, and it'll give you their email address so that you could reach out to them. And you probably are on Facebook friends with them too, so that would be the first step. The second step would be to reach out and welcome them and say, "Hey, girl, I just saw you got the kit," and then make a graphic post, add them to the group. There's steps in the Glam Squad under files. There's a file called New Presenter Onboarding, and so it's a little checklist where you made a graphic, add to group, you know, tag in this kind of thing. So it is a system. There is a system in place for signing someone new under the file.
Okay, cool.
And because you just got the kit, Joyce, anybody that you sign in your first 60 days, you get $50 in YCash for. And most of you, Amber, Holly, myself, I think Megan too, we've all earned the extra $50 YCash for signing too. And I just got my free beauty oil and brush cleaner today from signing the 4+. So there's all kinds of incentives to help you build a team as well.
Okay.
Amber or Megan, did you guys have anything? I know Megan told me that she just likes to listen, but I'm going to keep saying her name because I know it's her now. One of these days I'm gonna wear you down and you're gonna start talking back, Megan. All right. Well, this was very helpful. Thank you, Tiffany, for sharing some of your time and your words of wisdom. I can't wait to see you in 3 more sleeps. We are Bahamas bound, baby. I can't wait. The rest of you guys, keep doing the work, keep showing up for your business, and your business will start showing up for you. I love you all so much.
Thank you, Tiffany.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.